I'm leaving you for Derek. He's everything you're not. My wife sneered, clutching her lover's hand in our living room. I nodded calmly and said, That's fine. His wife's lawyer is waiting to serve you both papers. Her smug smile vanished instantly. Ethan's boots hit the pavement with a steady thud, the rhythm of his morning jog syncing with the hum of Mesa, Arizona waking up. At 32, he was a firefighter, the kind of guy who'd run into a burning building without a second thought. His days started early, before the desert sun turned the air to fire, and ended late, often with him collapsing into bed after a 24-hour shift. Today, he cut his run short, eager to get home to Mia, his wife of 4 years. She'd promised pancakes, his favorite, and he could already picture her flipping them in the kitchen, humming a tune. Their suburban neighborhood buzzed with life, kids on bikes, neighbors waving from porches. Ethan and Mia fit right in. They hosted barbecues, helped fix flat tires, and even coached the local youth soccer team together. Ethan loved how Mia lit up a room, her barista charm winning over everyone in the coffee shop where she worked. For years in, their marriage felt like a well-oiled machine. He fought fires, she kept their home running, and their weekends were filled with desert hikes or lazy movie nights. As Ethan turned onto their cul-de-sac, he spotted a new face unloading boxes from a pickup truck. The guy, maybe late 20s, was lean, all muscle, with a gym trainer's confidence. Hey, need a hand? Ethan called, slowing his pace. The stranger grinned, wiping sweat from his brow. Appreciate it, man. I'm Derek, just moved in next door. Ethan grabbed a box, noting Derek's easy charisma. They chatted about Mesa's heat, the best taco joints, and Derek's job at a local gym. By the time they finished, Ethan felt good about the new neighbor. Come by for a beer sometime, he offered, clapping Derek on the shoulder. Inside, Mia was at the stove, the smell of pancakes filling the air. New guy seems cool, Ethan said, grabbing a plate. Mia glanced up, curious. Derek? Yeah, he came by the shop yesterday. Ordered a latte, tipped big. Ethan nodded, digging into his breakfast. Mia's smile was warm, but her eyes flicked to her phone for a second longer than usual. Ethan didn't notice. He was too busy savoring the moment, thinking how lucky he was to have her. Over the next few weeks, Derek became a regular in their orbit. He fixed a neighbor's Wi-Fi, helped repaint a community fence, and even joined Ethan's soccer drills with the kids. Mia started mentioning him more, laughing about his gym stories or how he'd charmed the older ladies at her coffee shop. Ethan didn't mind. Community was everything in their neighborhood, and Derek seemed like a good addition. But one evening, as Ethan laced up for a night shift, Mia mentioned signing up for Derek's fitness class. It's just to stay active, she said, tucking her phone away. Ethan kissed her forehead. Go for it. Just don't outlift me. His shift that night was brutal. 2 car accidents and a kitchen fire. By 3 a.m., he was bone-tired, sipping coffee at the station with his buddy Luis, a cop who'd seen it all. Luis leaned back, eyeing Ethan. You look beat, man. Everything good at home? Ethan shrugged. Yeah, Mia's great. New neighbors keeping things lively. Luis raised an eyebrow. That Derek guy? Saw his car at your place last week. Middle of the day. Ethan frowned, the words landing like a small jab. Probably helping with something, he said, brushing it off. But Luis's look lingered, planting a seed of doubt. The next morning, Ethan got home to an empty house. Mia had left a note. Early shift, made you a smoothie in the fridge. He smiled, but the quiet fell off. He checked his phone. No text from her, just a photo from Derek's Instagram, posted an hour ago, showing him and Mia laughing at the gym. Ethan's stomach tightened. He wasn't the jealous type, but something about the image gnawed at him. He shook it off, chalking it up to exhaustion, and headed to bed. Days later, Ethan's schedule got crazier. A string of wildfires kept him at the station for 48 hours straight. When he finally got a day off, he planned a surprise for Mia. Dinner at their favorite Mexican spot. He texted her, but her reply was short. Busy at work? Maybe tomorrow? Disappointed, he drove home, only to see Derek's truck parked in their driveway. It was 2 p.m., an odd time for a visit. Ethan parked a block away, his pulse quickening. He didn't want to assume the worst, but Luis's warning echoed in his head. He slipped in the house quietly, expecting to hear Mia and Derek chatting about gym plans or neighborhood gossip. Instead, he found them in the living room, Mia's hand on Derek's arm, their voices low and intimate. Ethan froze, his keys still in hand. Mia's eyes met his, and for a split second, panic flashed across her face. Ethan, "You're home early," she stammered, pulling her hand back. Derek stood, forcing a smile. "Just dropping off some protein shakes," he said, gesturing to a bag on the coffee table. Ethan's jaw tightened. "At 2 in the afternoon?" His voice was calm, but the air crackled with tension. Mia fumbled for words, mentioning a broken shelf Derek was helping fix. Ethan's eyes scanned the room. No tools, no shelf pieces, just 2 half-empty coffee mugs. He didn't buy it. "I'm heading out," Derek said quickly, grabbing his keys. As the door closed behind him, Ethan turned to Mia. "What's really going on?" he asked, his tone sharp but controlled. Mia's face crumpled, and she looked away. "It's nothing, Ethan. You're overthinking it." But her voice shook, and Ethan's gut told him this was only the beginning. Ethan stood in the living room, the echo of Derek's retreating footsteps still hanging in the air. Mia fidgeted with her coffee mug, avoiding his gaze. He didn't raise his voice, but his words cut sharp. "Tell me the truth, Mia. Now." She hesitated, then claimed Derek was just a friend, someone to talk to when Ethan's shifts kept him away. Her explanation felt rehearsed, and Ethan's patience thinned. He stepped closer, holding her stare. "I saw how you touched him. That's not friendship." Mia's shoulders slumped, but she doubled down, insisting he was paranoid. Ethan didn't argue. He walked to the kitchen, grabbed his phone, and texted Luis, "Need a favor. Can you check something for me?" The next day, Ethan installed a small security camera in the living room, syncing it to his phone. He hated the idea of spying, but doubt had taken root, and he needed answers. At the fire station, he threw himself into work, hauling equipment and running drills, but his mind kept drifting to Mia's nervous deflection. During a break, Louise called him over. "Checked on Derek. Guy's got a wife, Sarah, works at a law firm downtown. They're separated, but she's still listed on his lease." Ethan's jaw clenched. A married man cozying up to his wife wasn't just suspicious. It was a red flag waving in his face. Luis handed him a business card. "Sarah's number. Might want to talk to her." That evening, Ethan returned home to find Mia prepping dinner, acting overly cheerful. She chatted about a new coffee blend at work, but her eyes darted to her phone every few minutes. Ethan played along, keeping his tone light, but he noticed her lock screen now had a passcode. After dinner, she said she was heading to Derek's gym class. "It's a late session," she added, grabbing her bag. Ethan nodded, saying nothing. As soon as she left, he opened the camera app. The living room was empty, but the feed confirmed his worst fears. Derek had been over yesterday, while Ethan was at the station, staying for over an hour. He drove to the gym, parking across the street. Through the glass, he saw Mia and Derek laughing near the weight racks, their body language too close for a trainer-client vibe. Ethan's hands gripped the steering wheel, but he stayed calm, his firefighter training kicking in. He wasn't here to confront them. Not yet. Instead, he dialed Sarah's number. A crisp voice answered. "Sarah Collins, who's this?" Ethan explained he was Mia's husband and had concerns about Derek. Sarah's tone sharpened. "What's he done now?" They agreed to meet at a diner the next morning. At the diner, Sarah was all business, her lawyer's poise evident as she sipped black coffee. She confirmed Derek's history of charm and infidelity, admitting their separation stemmed from his affairs. "He's good at making people trust him," she said, her voice bitter. Ethan shared what he'd seen, including the camera footage. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "If he's messing with your marriage, I'll make sure he pays for it." She promised to dig into Derek's finances and suggested Ethan do the same with Mia's. "Protect yourself," she warned. "Divorce courts don't care about feelings." Back home, Ethan checked their joint bank account. Small, unexplained withdrawals caught his eye. Coffee shop charges when Mia was supposedly at work, a gym membership he didn't know about. He confronted her that night, showing her the bank statements. "What's this, Mia? You paying for Derek's lattes now?" Her face paled, and she stammered about work expenses. Ethan pressed harder. "I saw him here, on camera, when I was working." Mia's eyes widened, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she turned defensive, accusing Ethan of invading her privacy. The argument escalated until she stormed out, saying she needed space. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table, replaying every moment of their marriage, searching for signs he'd missed. The next day, he met with his lawyer friend, Mark, at a quiet office downtown. Mark listened as Ethan laid out the evidence. The footage, the bank charges, Sarah's confirmation of Derek's character. You've got a strong case for divorce, Mark said, pulling out paperwork. Arizona's a no-fault state, but infidelity can sway asset division. Start gathering everything, texts, receipts, anything. Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. He wasn't just fighting for his marriage anymore. He was fighting for his future. Meanwhile, Mia's behavior grew erratic. She spent more time at the gym, coming home late and avoiding Ethan's questions. Neighbors started whispering, noticing Derek's truck in the driveway too often. One evening, Ethan's soccer team mom, Carla, pulled him aside after practice. People are talking, Ethan. Mia's been seen with that trainer guy at the coffee shop, acting cozy. Ethan thanked her, his stomach churning. The community he and Mia had built was unraveling, and he felt the weight of their judgment. Determined to act, Ethan hacked into Mia's old laptop, which she hadn't used in months. Her email was still logged in, revealing a thread with Derek, flirty messages, plans to meet, even a hotel booking for next week. The betrayal hit like a punch, but Ethan stayed focused. He screenshot everything and sent it to Mark. Then he called Sarah again, updating her on the emails. I'm filing against Derek for alimony, she said, her voice cold. He's about to learn what consequences feel like. Ethan felt a flicker of relief, knowing he wasn't alone in this fight. As the week ended, Ethan prepared for his next shift, but his mind was on the plan forming. He wasn't going to let Mia and Derek walk away unscathed. He'd play it smart, legal, and final. The camera app pinged on his phone, another late-night visit from Derek. Ethan watched the live feed, his heart pounding, but his resolve unshaken. This wasn't just about catching them anymore. It was about taking back control of his life, piece by piece. Ethan's phone buzzed with another security camera alert as he sat in the fire station's break room, the bitter coffee doing little to dull his anger. The live feed showed Derek slipping into the house at 11 p.m. Mia greeting him with a quick embrace. Ethan's chest tightened, but he didn't flinch. He saved the clip, adding it to the growing file for his lawyer, Mark. This was the final straw. He needed to act before the betrayal consumed him. He texted Sarah, Derek's estranged wife, attaching the footage. Caught them again. You ready? Her reply was instant. Let's bury him. The next morning, Ethan called in sick, his first time skipping a shift in years. He drove to Mark's office, handing over a USB drive with every damning piece of evidence, camera clips, bank records, and the incriminating emails from Mia's laptop. Mark scanned the files, nodding. This is airtight. We'll file for divorce and push for full asset control. Mia's affair gives you leverage. Ethan signed the initial papers, his hands steady despite the storm inside. I want this done fast, he said. Mark promised to expedite the process. Back home, Mia was at work, leaving the house eerily quiet. Ethan combed through their shared files, finding more unauthorized charges, dinners, a weekend spa trip, all paid from their joint account. His anger flared, but he channeled it into action, transferring his savings to a new account Mia couldn't touch. He called the bank, freezing their joint credit cards. If Mia wanted to fund her affair, she'd have to figure it out herself. By noon, he'd changed the locks, leaving a note on the door. We need to talk. Tonight. Mia returned at 6 p.m., her key useless against the new deadbolt. She knocked, her voice sharp through the door. Ethan, what the hell is this? He opened it, his face unreadable. Come in. We're done pretending. Mia stepped inside, her confidence faltering as she saw the packed suitcase by the couch. Ethan didn't waste time. I know about you and Derek. Months of lies, hotel plans, the works. I've got proof. He held up his phone, showing a still of her and Derek from the night before. Mia's mouth opened, but no words came. Ethan pressed on. I'm filing for divorce. You're out by tomorrow. Mia's defiance crumbled. She sank onto the couch, tears welling. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was lonely, Ethan. Your shifts, the stress, it got to me. Her voice cracked, but Ethan didn't soften. You chose this. You chose him in our home. He pointed to the suitcase. Pack what you need. The rest stays until the court decides. Mia tried to protest, mentioning their shared life, their neighborhood friends. Ethan cut her off. You burn that bridge. Derek's next. Across town, Sarah was executing her own plan. She'd hired a private investigator to track Derek's movements, uncovering a pattern of late-night visits to multiple women, not just Mia. Sarah met Ethan at a coffee shop, sliding a folder across the table. Derek's been bleeding money on affairs and gambling. His credit's shot. I'm hitting him with an alimony claim that'll cripple him. Ethan scanned the documents, impressed by her precision. What about Mia? He asked. Sarah shrugged. She's collateral damage. Focus on your exit strategy. That night, Ethan confronted Derek at the gym, catching him after class. The parking lot was empty, the desert air thick with tension. Stay away from my wife, Ethan said, his voice low but firm. Derek smirked, leaning against his truck. She came to me, man. Not my fault you couldn't keep her. Ethan's fists clenched, but he stayed composed. You'll regret this. Sarah's coming for you, and I've got enough to make sure you both lose. Derek's smirk faded as Ethan walked away, the threat landing like a precision strike. The next day, Mia moved out, crashing with a coworker. Ethan heard through the neighborhood grapevine that she'd tried to spin the story, claiming Ethan was controlling. But the community wasn't buying it. Carla, the soccer mom, had seen too much, and word of Derek's reputation was spreading. Ethan kept his head down, focusing on work and the divorce. Mark called with an update. The court had scheduled a hearing in 2 weeks, and Mia's infidelity gave Ethan a strong case for the house and savings. Meanwhile, Derek's life was unraveling. Sarah's investigator caught him meeting another woman at a bar, and the photos were sent to her lawyer. Sarah filed her alimony claim, citing Derek's reckless spending and infidelity. His gym clients started dropping off, spooked by the scandal. Ethan got a call from Luis, who'd heard about Derek's troubles. Guy's toast. Cops pulled him over last night. Unpaid tickets. He's spiraling. Ethan felt no pity, only a grim satisfaction that justice was closing in. By the week's end, Ethan sat alone in the house, the silence no longer oppressive but clarifying. He boxed up Mia's remaining belongings, leaving them for pickup. A text from Mia popped up. Can we talk? I messed up. Ethan deleted it without responding. He wasn't interested in her regret. He was building a wall around his future. Sarah sent him a message. Court's tomorrow for Derek. Want to watch him squirm? Ethan declined, but the thought of Derek facing consequences fueled his resolve. The climax of this betrayal was here, and Ethan was ready to end it on his terms. Ethan woke to the sound of his phone buzzing. A text from Mark confirming the divorce hearing was set for tomorrow. He'd spent the night sorting through legal documents, ensuring every detail was in place to protect his assets. The house, once a symbol of his life with Mia, felt like a shell. He listed it for sale, unwilling to live in a space tainted by deception. By noon, he'd signed with a realtor and started scouting rentals in a quieter Mesa neighborhood. Ethan wanted a clean break, a new chapter unmarred by the past. At the fire station, his colleagues sensed his focus, offering quiet support. Luis pulled him aside during a break. Heard Mia's been talking to neighbors, saying you pushed her out. You good? Ethan nodded, unfazed. Let her talk. The truth's on my side. He threw himself into a training drill, hauling hoses with a precision that kept his mind sharp. But a call from Sarah interrupted his rhythm. Derek's alimony hearing was a bloodbath, she said, her voice brimming with satisfaction. He's broke, Ethan. My lawyer tore him apart. She mentioned Derek's gym was losing clients fast, his reputation in tatters. Ethan felt a flicker of relief. Consequences were hitting hard. That evening, Ethan met Carla at the soccer field a hand over his coaching duties. He needed space to rebuild, and the neighborhood's prying eyes weren't helping. Carla hugged him, whispering, "You're better off without her. Everyone knows what she did." Her words stung, not because of Mia, but because the community's trust, once a source of pride, now felt like a spotlight. Ethan thanked her and drove to a diner, where he sat alone, mapping out his next steps. He'd found a modest rental near South Mountain, a single-story house with a small yard. It wasn't much, but it was his. Meanwhile, Mia struggled in her new reality. Her coworker's couch was a temporary fix, but the cramped apartment and long retail shifts drained her. She'd tried calling Derek, hoping their affair could become something more, but he dodged her texts, already distracted by a new fling at the gym. Mia's attempts to salvage her social standing failed. Neighbors avoided her at the grocery store, and her old coffee shop regulars whispered when she passed. One night, desperate, she showed up at the soccer field, hoping to catch Ethan. Carla spotted her first and blocked her path. "He's gone, Mia. Leave him be." Mia left humiliated, the rejection sinking deeper. The divorce hearing arrived, a sterile courtroom replacing the chaos of the past weeks. Ethan sat beside Mark, his evidence meticulously organized. Mia, across the room, looked drained, her lawyer scrambling to counter Ethan's claims. The judge reviewed the footage, emails, and bank records, her expression unyielding. Adultery and misuse of joint funds, she stated, ruling in Ethan's favor. He'd keep the house proceeds and most of their savings. Mia got a small settlement, barely enough for a fresh start. She tried to catch Ethan's eye as he left, but he walked out without a glance. Sarah called later, updating Ethan on Derek's downfall. The alimony ruling had stripped him of his savings, and his landlord was evicting him for missed rent. He's crashing with some gym buddy now, Sarah said. Karma's real. Ethan didn't gloat. He was too focused on moving forward. He signed the lease for the South Mountain rental and spent the weekend moving in, carrying boxes under the desert sun. The new place was bare, but its simplicity felt like freedom. He bought a few plants for the yard, a small act of reclaiming control. Mia, meanwhile, faced a harsher reality. Her retail job barely covered rent for a run-down studio apartment. She tried reaching out to old friends, but most had heard about the affair and kept their distance. One night, she saw Derek at a bar with another woman, laughing as if nothing had happened. The sight crushed her. She'd risked everything for him, only to be discarded. She sent Ethan a text, a long apology begging for a conversation, but it went unanswered. Ethan had blocked her number, a final boundary. Back at the fire station, Ethan's colleagues rallied around him. Luis invited him to a barbecue, insisting he needed a break. Ethan went, surprised by the warmth of new faces, neighbors from his new area, firefighters from another station. He laughed for the first time in weeks, feeling the weight lift slightly. That night, he sat in his new yard, staring at the stars. The betrayal still stung, but it no longer defined him. He was building something new, piece by piece, and no one could take that away. Ethan woke before dawn in his new South Mountain rental. The quiet hum of the desert outside his window, a stark contrast to the chaos of his past life. He laced up his running shoes and hit the trails, each step pounding out the last traces of anger. The divorce was finalized, the house sold, and the proceeds safely in his new account. He'd taken a week's leave from the fire station to settle into his new routine, spending mornings tending the small garden he'd started. The act of planting, digging into the dry soil, nurturing seedlings, gave him a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in months. At the station, Ethan's focus sharpened. He led a training session on high-rise rescues, his commands crisp and confident. His colleagues noticed the change. No longer distracted, he was back to the firefighter they admired. Louise clapped him on the back after a shift. "You're looking solid, man. New place treating you right?" Ethan nodded, mentioning his plans to volunteer at a local animal shelter. Helping strays find homes felt like a way to rebuild, not just for himself but for others. Across town, Mia's life was a different story. Her studio apartment, tucked in a noisy corner of Mesa, was a daily reminder of her fall. The retail job drained her, long hours on her feet for barely enough to cover bills. She'd tried texting Derek again, hoping for closure, but he'd blocked her after their last awkward encounter at the bar. Word had spread through the old neighborhood. Her former regulars at the coffee shop now avoided her, and Carla had made it clear she wasn't welcome at community events. Mia scrolled through social media late at night, seeing Ethan's old posts with the soccer kids, each photo a stab of regret. One evening, desperate to make amends, Mia drove to Ethan's new address, obtained from a mutual acquaintance. She clutched a handwritten letter, pouring out her guilt and loneliness, not asking for forgiveness, but hoping to explain. At the gated community's entrance, the security guard took the envelope, promising to deliver it. Mia lingered in her car, watching the gate close, knowing this was her last attempt to reach him. She drove back to her apartment, the weight of her choices heavier than ever. Ethan received the letter that afternoon, left in his mailbox with no return address. He recognized Mia's handwriting instantly and set it on the kitchen counter, unopened. For a moment, he considered reading it, wondering if her words could offer clarity. But the thought passed quickly. He'd spent months untangling himself from her betrayal, and revisiting it would only drag him back. He tore the letter into pieces and tossed it in the trash, the act final and deliberate. He didn't need her explanations. His peace was his own now. Meanwhile, Derek's life continued to spiral. Evicted from his apartment, he'd moved into a cheap motel, his gym business crumbling as clients abandoned him. Sarah's alimony case had left him with mounting debts, and a recent DUI charge added to his troubles. He tried to charm his way back into the community, but the neighbors, now aware of his role in Ethan and Mia's split, kept their distance. One night, he showed up at the coffee shop where Mia once worked, hoping to reconnect with old clients. The manager, a friend of Ethan's, asked him to leave. Ethan, on the other hand, found new rhythm. He started volunteering at the shelter, spending weekends training dogs and helping them find families. One afternoon, a young couple adopted a scrappy terrier Ethan had worked with, their gratitude lighting a spark in him. He signed up for a community gardening workshop, learning to grow native plants that thrived in Arizona's heat. His yard began to bloom, cacti and agave dotting the once barren soil, a testament to his resilience. Mia made one last attempt to rebuild. She enrolled in an online course for office management, hoping to leave retail behind. But the isolation persisted. At a local market, she overheard two former neighbors whispering about her, their words sharp and unforgiving. She left without buying anything, the sting of their judgment lingering. Sitting in her apartment, she wrote in a journal, trying to process the loneliness that had become her constant companion. She knew she'd lost more than a marriage. She'd lost a community, a life, herself. Ethan's new life wasn't perfect, but it was his. At the barbecue Luis hosted, he met a shelter volunteer, Emma, who shared his love for second chances. They talked for hours about rescue dogs and desert trails. No pressure, just connection. As he drove home, the stars above South Mountain felt brighter, the weight of betrayal finally gone. He didn't hate Mia or Derek. He simply didn't think about them anymore. His garden, his work, his new friendships were enough. The next morning, Ethan watered his plants, the soil damp and alive under his hands. He'd survived the fire of betrayal, not by seeking revenge, but by choosing to grow. Mia and Derek faced their consequences not through violence, but through the quiet justice of accountability. Ethan's peace was hard-earned, built on the truth that he deserved better, and now he had it.